Welcome to Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX and KWBY, and again on Saturday morning at 9 on KATX and KWBY as Angela Robinson joins Terry Slavens to share important financial information to help you live life on purpose. Insurance, investments, estate and tax planning, and much more. All covered now on Life Planning 101.
It's Life Planning 101 on this Monday morning. Angela, good morning to you.
Good morning. And we're going to talk about a topic that I bet anybody over 65 years old is getting calls about and has been getting calls about since about, 1st of October, and is going to continue to get calls about. And that is open enrollment for Medicare. And this is also important for, I'd say, those people that are nearing that 65 mark to really understand what this is all about, because this is a biggie. And to be honest with you, I didn't even think about doing a show during this time with open enrollment, primarily because really open enrollment only applies to one set of people, and that's people that are on Advantage plans with Medicare. And we have really not seen many people with a need for an Advantage plan, but the irony of that is that most people end up with an Advantage plan. So, what is going on with that scenario? That doesn't make any sense. And I had a recent phone call, and I think this is what sparked my conversation. And it was from a client of ours that had switched to an Advantage plan. We did not know that they had switched to an Advantage plan last year. And when they switched to an Advantage plan, they said, well, yeah, we did it because we don't pay anything. It's free, right?
For now. And
I was looking up some things, and I found this wonderful article on Investopedia about Advantage plans versus Medicare plans. And you can go out there and Google the tar out of this. And they said it perfectly. They said the devil's in the details, right? Because really an Advantage plan wants one type of person, a very healthy person. And if you're not a very healthy person, they're going to make it very unfavorable on you. Well, I want you to think about something. You may be 65 and you may be perfectly healthy today. You may be 70 and you may be perfectly healthy today. But what is inevitable in retirement?
Health is going to decline.
Health is going to decline. It is not an if, unless you're just like one of those 1 in a million chance that you just fall over dead one day, right? But most likely you're going to have more out-of-pocket costs. I cannot tell you a single client that we have that's not paying at least $12,000 to $13,000 a year in medical expenses in retirement out of pocket, even having the most comprehensive plans that are out there. So, and you think about an Advantage plan on top of that, they can actually have more out-of-pocket costs because they can have up to another $6,700 annually out of pocket. And a lot of people don't realize this, and they think, oh, well, it's free. It's nothing. It doesn't cost me anything. And they go off of a supplement, right? Which, and I'll kind of back up and explain that here in a second. They go off of a supplement, which you pay in a monthly premium for. And by the way, if you're on the right plan that's fully comprehensive, you're going to be paying anywhere from $90 to $200 a month. That nowhere in any shape, form equals $6,700 a year, right? And so people say, well, if I'm healthy for 10 years, it would make sense. Yes, this may be true. But we had a client that got hit. He was riding his bicycle, got hit by a car, perfectly healthy. I mean, like the picture of health, and has had so many medical issues and will continue to have so many ongoing medical issues for the rest of his life. And he's stuck in an Advantage plan. I say stuck because he can't get back out of it, because once you're in an Advantage plan, to go back over to the supplement side, guess what you have to do?
Requalify.
Yeah, you have to requalify, go in underwriting. So this is a big topic. Open enrollment is from October 15th to December 7th, and you are getting call after call after call. And we've talked about elder abuse. I think this should be near and close to elder abuse, because you're calling and you're going on something based on someone selling you something rather than going to someone that has your best interest in mind, because they're getting paid on this. And you need to keep that in mind. And there's that saying about if it's too good to be true, It probably is, right? Well, I always kind of think of it like the Cinderella story, right? There is a Prince Charming out there, but the Prince Charming is not so charming after a little bit because it disappears, right? In reality, it's a little bit different. So I want to share a story when we come back that I found on Investopedia. And this was shocking. And then I actually found some other information that was off of a lot of doctors, what they're saying about Advantage plans versus Medicare supplement plans. We're going to go through the details of each of these. And I'm going to give you 3 things to consider, because I'm not saying that not everybody shouldn't be on an Advantage plan. There are certain particular situations that should occur. But as of today, under current law, not the majority of people. And that's what you need to be looking at.
And we'll be back with more Life Planning 101 right after this on KTX KWBY. Life Planning 101 continues here on this Monday morning. Angela, we're talking Medicare open enrollment.
Yes, that's right. And open enrollment, again, means one thing no matter who's calling you. It means switching to an Advantage plan or switching from an Advantage plan to another Advantage plan. Does not mean Medicare supplement world. 2 totally different things. Okay, so Medicare supplements, let me back up to the elementary basics on this. When you have Medicare, you have Part A, you're automatically enrolled in that at 65 years old. That's your major medical. Part B, which is kind of like your minor medical, you actually physically enroll with that with the Social Security Department at age 65 or when you retire. There's a lot of rules around that. Get help. But that happens. And then you have a choice. You can either do Part C, which, I really don't even think they should be able to call it that legally because it makes it sound like it's part of the government. That's the Advantage plan. It's not. It's sold by outside carriers. Or you can do a Medicare supplement through an outside carrier and a Part D drug plan through an outside carrier. So you go one of 2 routes. You go through Part C or you do the supplement in Part D. Okay. Now, pros and cons of each. That's what we're kind of talking about on today's show. And here's the one thing that I think gets everybody's goat. With a Medicare supplement, you're going to have a premium cost with that and Part D. So the average Part D drug plan is $34 a month. It's not horrible, right?
$1 a day.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay, most drug plans are more around $12 to $18 a month if you don't have a lot of drugs, and you can switch those all throughout Medicare. When you have a Medicare supplement, your supplement premium, if you get the most comprehensive, so you do not have anything out of pocket, or you get the most comprehensive with the exception of the once a year annual deduction of $183, okay, those range from $90 to $200 a month. That's still not a lot of money. But here's where they get you. Right now, you're getting calls from Advantage companies saying, well, if you switch over here, you have no premium, but you don't have comprehensive coverage anymore. And that's what you need to understand. So I wanted to read you something I found as I was doing some research on this. And this was Investopedia, and this was by author Wendell Porter, and he actually found a story on this. And here's the story. He said, although mom saw her Medicare Advantage premiums increase significantly over the years, she didn't have any real motivation to disenroll until after she broke her hip and she was required to get skilled care in a nursing facility. After a few days, the nursing home administrator told her that if she stayed there, she would have to pay for everything out of her own pocket. Why? Because a utilization review nurse at her Medicare Advantage plan, who had never seen her or examined her, decided that her care that she was receiving was no longer medically necessary. And because there's no commonly used criteria as to what constitutes medical necessity, insurers have wide discretion in determining what they will pay for and what they will not pay for in terms of custodial care. Yes, very hidden agenda in that, right? Medicare supplements, obviously you don't have that issue. a doctor. In his same article, he talks in 2012 about Dr. Brent Schilling. He was a former president of Palm Beaches County Medical Society Services. He printed out a whole post of pointed problems with Medicare Advantage plans from a physician's perspective. Here's what he said. Care can actually end up costing you more to the patient and the federal budget that is undergoing original Medicare, particularly if one suffers from a serious medical problem, kind of what we talked about, right? Some private plans are not financially stable and must suddenly cease coverage. That's what happened in Florida in 2014 when one particular popular plan was declared insolvent and people were canceled by their doctors all over the place. One may have difficulty getting emergency or urgent care due to rationing. The plan only covers certain doctors, often drops providers without cause and breaks continuity of care. We run into this all the time, especially being in a rural area. You know, it's like a PPO or an HMO where you have to get appointed to go to a certain doctor, and these certain doctors, the only ones covered. We saw this over in Abilene. This is no joke. Real story, real life story. A client's friend was in Comanche, had to go to the hospital. They took him to Abilene. Because nobody in Abilene had that Advantage plan coverage, they had to ship them up to Fort Worth. This is the problem. And it was an emergency situation, by the way.
Wow.
Thank God there wasn't any problems, right? At the end of the day. But that's how real this is. It can be difficult getting care away from home. Okay, snowbirders. You know, people that travel a lot. Most people do this in retirement. If you are out of your network, guess what's going to happen?
You're not covered.
You're not covered. That's a problem. It's not like a PPO where you have, out of network coverage.
We'll only pay
Yes.
X number.
Some plans have that with now Medicare supplements, but those zero cost plans, I promise you, do not have that. What they're looking at is you stay in their provider network. And by the way, providers drop in and out of those all the time. So you may be switching doctors 3-4 times during retirement. How would you like that?
Not good.
No, it's not good. So the extra benefits offered can turn out to be less than promised. Obviously, this is what we're seeing. And plans that include coverage for Part D prescription drug costs may ration certain high-cost medications. So therein lies another issue, right?
You can't get the medication that you need.
That's exactly right. So you have to be really careful. And I'm not like a complete, not a proponent for Medicare Advantage plans. I do think there's a place and time for them. And the thing is that you've got to know if it's a place and time for you and if it makes absolute sense. If you live in a very large city and you have tons of access to everybody, you don't care who your medical provider is at any given time, right? You do have extra money in retirement and you're able to pay those out-of-pocket costs when the situation occurs that you're going to be unhealthy. Yeah, it may make sense for you, right? You don't travel a lot. You don't have this. You don't have that. But just because everybody calls you and says, oh, we can shorten your Medicare supplement from $130 a month to zero.
A lot of people are going to jump at that.
They are going to jump at that, and they do jump. Yes, they do jump at that. And the other thing is I will say for Advantage plans, they've got two things working for them. They do cover, a lot of plans cover dental insurance, and a lot of them cover like your eye doctor visits and stuff. Well, a lot of that's not covered in traditional Medicare. Okay, so that can be an expensive feat. So if you do have that coverage, that's something to consider, especially if you have a lot of dental issues. Okay, so again, it's not as black and white as it is, but you need to be asking questions because it doesn't necessarily mean that it's really what you need, right? So I want to remind people, open enrollment right now, you're getting phone calls. Don't take this as face value, and I think a lot of times as you're getting mailers, you're getting everything, you're seeing ads all over. And if you're on the computer at all, you do know what target ads are. You know how this works. If you're a certain age, if you shop a certain thing, if you look at certain things, they target you based on what you do. So you're going to see Medicare Advantage premiums popping up while you're on Facebook. Okay, this is a real deal.
It's scary how they could do that.
It is, and it's very deceiving. But my dad always, says one thing. He says, "The big print giveth, and the little print taketh away. So we have to remember the big print giveth, the little print taketh away. When we come back here on Life Planning 101, we're going to give you 3 final things to consider on what you should do about your Medicare plan.
Final segment of Life Planning 101 on this Monday before Thanksgiving. Angela?
Yes, and we are talking understanding Medicare and open enrollment and everything that brings. There's a lot of confusion. I always laugh because when people say Medicare, I'm trying to do all this research and I don't understand this. And I say, well, do we ever understand anything the government does, really? So this is not an anomaly. So we've just made it our business to understand it because we work with people in that demographic and we feel it's a servant thing that we need to do. Obviously, our primary business is not Medicare, but we have to be able to serve our clients. And so we coach people through this. And one of the things I want to remind everybody is enroll on our weekly life lessons. Go to Kennedy-financial.com. That's KENNEDY-financial.com and sign up for our weekly life lessons, especially in this one. So you're going to have an article that talks about what we did today. The podcast is there that you can actually listen to the show again. But then also within that article, there's going to be a link to another article that we've written in the past about understanding Medicare. And it breaks it down into elementary style, easy to understand, because even going to ss.gov, they've done a decent job. It's still very confusing to be able to understand that. So we want people to be able to know their options. And I truly believe education with Medicare is a must with everything. And, you got questions about your drug plan. You have questions about your Part A, Part B, how to enroll, when to enroll, waiting. Don't wait to enroll because you do assess with lifetime penalties with that. People forget about that. So those are all important things and they're all inside of there. Really good information. So make sure you do that. And then also you're going to see kind of a recap, like I mentioned, about today and what we're talking about with open enrollment and the risk that's out there of you being sold something. And I think everybody hates that saying, and I almost don't even want to say it on the show, but we've all been sold at one time. We have to, progress starts by telling the truth. We all have to say at one time or another, I have been sold, right?
Absolutely.
And it's easy to get sold when someone says, I can save you $150 a month.
Yeah.
Or $180 a month or $200 a month. Yeah, that is so much. And I tell you what, this happened to a family member of mine. And I was up there Christmas talking to him and and they're like, yeah, and we just did this. And I said, yeah, you just went on an Advantage plan. And as I understand it, they just found colon cancer. And yeah, you're not switching back. And now your out-of-pocket costs are going to go from $2,400 a year to $6,700 a year. So, people don't realize the fine print, right? That devil in the details, so to speak. And that's what you really have to pay attention to. So if it sounds too good to be true, something's wrong. That's so true. So let's go over the 3 things to consider as you're looking. Should I go with the Advantage plan? Should I go with Medicare Supplement? Number 1 is cost. Higher premium for a traditional Medicare plan, which is Part A, Part B, a supplement, and a drug plan. You're looking at somewhere, total cost all in, about $125 a month up to about $235 a month, okay? That's your total cost all in with that type of plan, okay?
Now, are those age-based premiums?
Yes, they are. The age and gender.
Right.
Yeah, so they have both. I don't even know how they do the transgender. That's an interesting one. I hadn't come across that yet, but I suspect things are going to be changing. Some states are unisex, so I guess that's how they do that. So, that's one thing to consider is am I healthy enough? Am I going to be healthy enough? Do I have the ample funds that in the future, when I don't become healthy, that I'm going to be able to pay these out-of-pocket costs potentially to offset what I'm saving today, right? That's a big one. Second thing is choice. Remember, it may or may not cover different providers. If you have someone you want to go to, you may not have the option. They may drop the Advantage carrier in the future and therefore drop you as one of their patients. Sure. Are you okay with that? And you have to be open to being okay with getting care wherever and your records being transferred wherever and not sticking with one provider in retirement. I think most people are not okay with that.
No.
I'm not okay with that, and I am a younger person. Right. So I want one person knowing everything about me, just kind of like we in the financial world want to know everything about our clients so we can help them from a financial aspect. And then last of all is lifestyle. You know, we talked about this. Lifestyle is a big one. Do you travel? Do you snowbird? Are you in 2 places? Are you in 3 places? Are you 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? You know, international travel can actually be covered to some extent underneath traditional Medicare plans, okay? Advantage plans, that's a very difficult thing to find, and then you're right back up there in the pricing point that you were before. So, you know, make sure you do your homework and you ask questions and you think about those things: cost, choice, lifestyle. Those are big things. And, you know, don't get sold during this time. Don't be clicking all over the place and get yourself into something that you can't get out of, because it's your medical, it's your life, it's your future, it's your finances, it's everything. And people don't understand this. And I hate to say this, but again, I'm not anti-Advantage plans, but I am
pro-education.
I am pro-education. I am pro people knowing what they need to know to be able to make good decisions and live life on purpose. After all, that is kind of our tagline at Kennedy Financial Services. So I hope everyone has a great week. Happy Thanksgiving. God bless everyone. My name is Angela Robinson.
Thank you for joining us for Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX and KWBY, and again on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock on KATX and KWBY for more Life Planning 101.
Advisory services offered through Smart Money Group, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Calton & Associates Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Kennedy Financial Services Incorporated is an independent of Calton & Associates Incorporated and Smart Money Group, LLC.